Bam! What is going on, folks? MC is in the house. My name is Justin Garcia, also known as Master Chim, and welcome to the Warrior Stream. It is a live show that I do every Wednesday, noon Eastern Standard Time, and I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Today we have a pretty good topic that I'd like to share some insights on, and we can go from there. Let's start off with a little bit of the housekeeping. You guys should know that you can go to masterchim.com and see all my stuff. That's the hub. But I lately have been putting the Three Roads Tribe URL there because that is where my focus is right now, building out this group. Jesse, what's going on? Corey, what's going on? Good to see you guys here. I would also like to see you guys on the Three Roads Tribe, so go check that out. Jamie, what's up, my man up in Canada? A lot of good things going on in that group right now. Before I do anything to the price, I wanted to get it up to at least 100 members. So it's going to take a little bit of an effort to do that. And once I do raise the price, whoever's paying $9 is going to continue to pay $9. Once that goes up, though, they're going to be paying the new rate. Juan, what's up, brother man? Good to see you. Always good to see number one, Juan. All right. So the topic for today, men don't quit. Interesting thumbnail I put out. A man carrying his children on his back and can't stop, won't stop. Now, I understand some of you men out there that are listening to this don't have children. And I found in my experience coaching guys for the last 20 years that when I do talk about the role of a father and what that plays in the life of a man, I do find that if men don't have kids, they tend to sort of say, oh, that's not for me. And I would say that it absolutely is for you because it's part of the dynamic that a man plays, if not to his immediate family, then to society at large, not only in his obligations to that society, but in a lot of times the expectations that a functional society would place on the shoulders of men. If you are in a elevator with a mother and 3 young children, the elevator gets stopped. You don't have any kids in life, but you have 3 kids in that elevator as far as society is concerned, as an example. So whether you have children or not, the ability to value what the role is of a father in a family is, I would say, universally applicable to men. Who we got here? Willie, what's up, Willie? Felix, good to see you, my man. Vincent, good to see you, my friend. Cherrytown Vibe in the house. Cherrytown Vibe and I got some rolling on this past Sunday. He took it easy on me. I'm glad my body's still functioning as a result. But back on task. So I recently heard a song, and I got to find this. If I was a little bit more organized, this would already be queued. But great song that I don't know if you guys heard it. And it was one of those, I saw a clip of it on social media somewhere, and I said, oh, let me go see what that is about. And I went and listened to the song, and oh, man, really good. Really good. I enjoyed the lyrics. The song itself is pretty good. It is called To Be a Man. That's what it's called, To Be a Man. And it's by Dax. And it's featuring Darius Rucker, the guy from Hootie and the Blowfish. I want to read a line from this song, a couple of lyrics. And here we go. So it says, one of the lyrics, one of the verses in the song, I can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home. And that is just an example of that, one lyric from that song that I thought it was really, really spot on. Everybody that I sent that to, and I put it up in Three Roads Tribe earlier, and or maybe yesterday, And even the guys that were responding there were like, it made me a little emotional, it hit a nerve. And I'll tell you, I'll be the first one to say, yeah, absolutely. Because that's what people who aren't men, we used to call them women, right? I guess now we got to say people who aren't men, who aren't real men. Oh, you know what the fuck I'm saying. People who are not men don't understand. Maybe young children, right? Boys aren't men yet, right? So, all right, it's not as crazy as I'm thinking it is. But when we look at the role of men in society, we have to understand that there is an inherent, almost commoditization of what a man is to society. We are able to be discarded. We are expendable. We are sort of prepped for the sacrifice role if such a role is needed in a given situation. And that's okay. And we're okay with that. Sure, you'll find yourself from time to time in a negative state. And when you're in that negative state, you tend to sort of draw the narrative that allows you to survive, right? So even the weakest of stories are really written to allow the author of the story to get past the situation that he finds himself in. But we're in low stories, we tend to sort of devolve into these questions of, why does this always happen to me? Why would this happen now? And, like, all of these questions that our subconscious is going to answer. But really, if we had the best answer, it doesn't really get us any better off than we were before. I think as men, when we are in a productive state, there is still that understanding that, yeah, we'll go first. Like we'll be the last one. Whichever role we need to play, where we could sacrifice our participation for the betterment of the people who are either, relying on us by way of tribe, or people by way of circumstance. The scenario I just I was talking about before, with a bunch of people stuck in an elevator. There is an inherent expectation that men take pride in their ability to step up to the plate. Now, I'd written in an email, I don't know if it was a couple of days ago, it might have been today. It's all a blur sometimes. When I think I quoted Jim Rohn, and in the quote it was, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. And I added to that, looking at your life right now, what component of your life can you say is dedicated to you being better? That's the problem. I've been coaching guys for over 20 years. Just in my one-on-one coaching program, like, I have at least 10,000 hours of coaching collectively. This is something that I know well, something that, is very, very familiar to me. And in that time, one of the things I've noticed consistently, many things, but one of the things I've noticed consistently is men find themselves in recurring circumstances. They find themselves in recurring circumstances, meaning they'll wind up in a situation where they're fucked up, and you give them enough time, they'll wind up right back in that fucked up spot. And it just begs the question, do you even realize that where you are is a product of who you are and what it is that you're doing? If you want to wind up someplace different, then you should do something differently. If you don't want to wind up in this bad spot, then you shouldn't do what you did to get in this bad spot. I know a couple of people who are married at least 3 times. One guy, I think he's on 4 right now. How many people are divorced and remarried once? Like, shit, isn't that almost everybody these days? But one of the things you'll notice, one of the things that I've observed over the years, coaching men who have had, these issues in a relationship, it's in the second relationship or the third relationship, they're still doing the thing that I would argue sabotaged the first relationship or the second relationship. Like, there's a certain point where if you want a different outcome, you need to sort of design a different input, right? And that is what people don't get. But now structurally, how is that done? And this is where, I think training comes into play. When I ask, before, I shared the Jim Rohn quote, don't ask that it become easier, ask that you become better. If you don't have a mechanism to improve the ability to navigate your life, it's not going to get any easier as time goes on. I got news for you. How many of you guys out there are watching this right now thinking about when you were 15 years old, maybe 20 years old, and you thought you had problems, right? You thought you had weight bearing down on your shoulders as a 15-year-old, an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old, some of us 30 years old, right? It's like, man, remember when I thought those were problems? Man, 12 years old, I can't stay up past midnight watching television. Life's terrible. Life sucks. And that was the perspective that we had. That was the perspective that we had back then, because we didn't have any experience to add any context to just how ridiculous a complaint that was. So you ask yourself, well, what is the difference between then and now? Well, a couple things. Number one, it's, you've accumulated some experience since then. New experiences, new perspectives, new strength, right? New adversities overcome, create new strength. So a lot of those things happen just by way of circumstance. Whether you like it or not, it's like, how do, I'll give you a perfect example. I went on a hike the other day, 8-mile hike. I got back to my car. I'm in the middle of the woods, a state park here in PA. I'm at least 3 miles away from any external road from the park. And my key fob doesn't work, right? I drive an Audi, and the fucking, the thing's not turning on. It's not working. And I'm like, ain't this some shit? So I figured out after about a half an hour, just finished an 8-mile hike, one of the things I really want to do is get in my car and drive it the fuck home. Feet are fucking all mangled. And it took me about a half an hour to figure out how to start the car, even though it wasn't recognizing the key fob. I now know how to do that. I had to get stuck in the woods with my key fob not working in order to give me the energy to motivate me and inspire me to learn how to do that. We will always learn from life in that fashion. We will be caught in the middle of some shitstorm, and we navigate our way out of it. And you know what? At the end of it, we could draw a map. It's like, yeah, we're ever in that shitstorm again, this is the map to get out of it. That's one way to learn. For most men, however, that is the only way they want to learn. And they become really experienced on how to survive emergencies. But in their ability to survive emergencies, they never develop a system to actually thrive in emergencies. It's all about, let me just get out of here in one piece, not let me get out of this being better. So what I would offer, what I advocate for, what a lot of my content is designed around, is a commitment to creating systems that will allow an individual to consistently, incrementally get better. I was on a call this morning with my mastermind group, and I was talking about different aspects of marketing, for a business, and how there are some things. One of the guys in my group, he owns a construction company, and when he purchased or bought into the construction company, he doesn't do construction. He didn't know anything about it, but he knew how to talk to people. He knew how to build alliances. He knew how to problem solve. He knew how to market. He knew how to sell. And, that basic skill set, that universal, where business is concerned, skill set allowed him to enter into an industry that he was not specialized in his training and thrive. And he continues to thrive as a result of that. In the business world, I talk about, being able to write copy, right? Which means basically to be persuasive in writing. How do you do that? Every one of my coaching students, started working with me one-on-one through email correspondence. Now, sure, they've probably been watching me for some time. Maybe they read the book, etc. But when it came down to them, and you could see it if you're reading my emails that I send out every day. Every once in a while, I'll say, hey, if you're interested in coaching, just reply to this email with coaching in the subject, and I'll, send you an application, and we'll go from there. Just about every coaching student that I have came by way of that process. If I'm not able to convey the value of what it is that I'm offering in writing, then there are going to be a lot of people who don't think it's going to be worth the investment. I would be sabotaging both of us in that case. I don't get, their investment in my program. They don't get the value that my program provides. So me continuously getting better in my ability to convey the value of my products and services is something that I know I have to commit myself to ritualistically, habitually. This is something I need to work on every day. If you guys have gotten Master the 24-Hour Cycle, the program, if you haven't, you can get it for free. Just go to masterchim.com. There's a thing to put your email. It sends you a promo code. It's $47 otherwise, but you could just get it for free. If you're in the Three Roads Tribe, it's already there. You can check it out there too in the classroom on that site. But part of that program is looking at every day as a template that I'm putting over my day. And one of the components of that template is an improvement session. Like every day, I have a time allotted to working on some form of improvement mechanism. Now, it could be reading a book, it could be watching an instructional, it could be, going to a class somewhere, it could be trying out new gear. The other day I got to use my my Life Water. Is it Life Water? Life Proof, maybe? Whatever it is. My water filtration system. I in a rush to get on the hiking trail, I forgot to bring water. Luckily, I have a kit. I was able to do that. So one of the things I learned was how to actually do that and drink from a stream that I found on the hike somewhere. So every day I have a dedicated amount of time to improving my capabilities. So just me being me, day in and day out, I am constantly improving without the need for some sort of emergency or shitstorm to be the impetus for that commitment in improving my capabilities. It just happens by way of design. As men, we understand there is a shameful consequence to opting out of the expectations of your tribe. If the people who rely on you actually need you to participate and you do not, you are going to experience a certain degree of shame, and you should. An individual is not going to, let alone a tribe or a society, but an individual is not going to be able to sustain his mental health, his functional identity, his self-alliance, to use some TRIBALNOMICS language. He's not going to be able to maintain that if he does not add a degree of certainty to the promises that he makes to himself or others. If there is not a connection between what my intention is and what the outcome is, then I lose a whole lot of certainty that creates a whole lot of confusion and unreliability and doubt and insecurity in who I am at my core. We have to, now mind you, if somebody says, hey, I need you to help me move, and you say, I could be there Saturday from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. And they're like, oh, come on, man. I need you here Friday. I can't make it. I can make it Saturday, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Like, there's nothing wrong with setting parameters around the expectations that people should place on you. But as soon as you say you do it, then you got to be there and do it. If you don't have time to do it, you also have to say you don't have time to do it, but it has to be in a way that they understand, because they're obviously listing you as somebody that would have said yes. That's why they're asking you. On a list of people that they relied on or were relying on to be able to help them move, you're on that list. So you need to be able to honor that expectation by explaining to them why you can't do it. Saying you can't do it and not giving them something that allows them to rationalize it, they're going to downgrade the alliance and the expectations with you. But if you say you're going to do it and you don't show up, like, that's even worse. So yeah, it's like, hey, I need you to help, help my son with his math homework. Oh, well, I'm not good at math. It's like, well, you're fucking useless. I got to ask somebody else then. Weird example, but I think you guys get the point. When it comes to capabilities, if we're not investing in our absolute level of capabilities, then people aren't really going to call us. My buddy Tuan Tom, he had a great take on this once. One of the pressure cons, I think. He was saying, when something goes wrong, I want people to call me. I want to be the guy that in an emergency, like, I'm the guy that they think of. And it could be, sure, there's some violence that needs to be done, but it could be your car broke down. It could be your roof needs fixing. It could, like, whatever it is, all these different things. He talks about creating the absolute value in a man's life so that people can count on them and we become more valuable. I remember him making the joke that any guy that says, oh man, that's archaic or obsolete, men shouldn't think like that. He made the joke that, yeah, they're just saying that because nobody fucking calls them. But as men, that is what we should be looking to dedicate our time to. It's not about, can I become popular? When people look at me, can I, put them in a good mood because of the positive association? That's a great byproduct of being valuable. But you'd always rather be the guy that when, because here's the thing, when you're popular and people see you and they smile and stuff, there's a lot of sort of presupposed, reality going on at that point. Like, everything's going well. When shit's hitting the fan, when everything's going south, in an emergency type situation, those niceties and the energy that people get from, their favorable, associations with who people are, a lot of that falls by the wayside. There is no time for priority in emergencies to consider the value of the good mood that somebody puts you in. There's a function, in my program Squad Goals, I talk about the energy guy. There's a function to allow for an energy that allows people to continue to do their job in an emergency. But being the guy that, everybody likes, not a lot of utility, not a lot of absolute utility in an emergency. So you want to be the guy that has value when shit hits the fan, because that's where you actually get to show your value, right? Supply and demand, basic economics. It's like in an emergency situation where we need somebody to do something very specific, and you're the only guy that does it, you're valuable. When everything's going great and you're one of an endless supply of people that could do a whole slew of things that people happen to enjoy, you're a dime a dozen. So being committed to improving our capabilities and then having a system to deliver those capabilities in a way that's honorable based on our alliances, that's what it means to be a man. And that's why men don't quit. I don't know what was the phrase. I wasn't the first one to say this, but in one of my posts last couple of weeks, I talked about, I think it was the post I had a picture of my dad. And I said, I'll never lose because I refuse to quit. And a man who doesn't quit can never lose. That's the idea here. It's not about getting knocked down. It's not about being undefeated or being perfect. It's about, it doesn't matter. I'm going to keep going. When you have value for life, just in the most universal of senses, if you have value for life, your life, let's be a little more specific, then you realize it's always going to be better than the alternative. In a general sense. Get into a situation where sacrifice is in order, then we understand that there are other ways that, this goes. But in a base sense, general, universal sense, it's like, yeah, being alive is more valuable than being dead, right? Like that's a good, common starting point that we should come to. You don't get that, none of my other shit's going to make sense to you, but there's a certain point where you have a man who does not want to invest in becoming more capable. And he sits there and wonders why everything's eroding around him, or if he's on this sort of cyclical, recurring theme of, oh, here I go again. Here I am in the middle of the shit, and it's the same situation over and over again. Let's see what's here. All right, Corey liked that song. Church everyone, now why by house straight out Tribalnomics. That's right. That's right. Show me the movement. Meaning's good. Movement's better. What's up, Sean? Good to see you. My man Sean just joined the Three Roads Tribe. Good to see him on the other side. Yarn Saxa. What's up, Yarn Saxa? She says, women do this as well. It took a while to realize a lot of what happened was my fault for allowing the same stuff over and over, repeatedly ignoring my own bullshit, thinking I didn't have to change. That is absolutely true. And that's what you get with a lot of people. It's like, I guess if they live long enough, they'll be able to blame everybody else to the point where they'll get back to themselves. And maybe that's when the change will occur. I would always advocate for, blame yourself first. But even the connotation of blame, I don't mean that, like impose suffering on yourself, like, no, blame just, it's assigning an accountability. And after that accountability, some sort of process to improve the system that led you there, right? That's how we grow. It's like the guy that lifts the weights gets stronger. Sean writes, the constant variable in every shitty relationship is you. and believe me, I've told more than one person, you ever think it's you? Corey says, I use Life Straw. Man, if I had my bag here, I'll show you what I use. It might be Life Straw. I don't fucking know. I'll post it at some point. Jamie writes, the one thing you have power over is yourself. So if everything is someone or something else's fault, you're fucked. And that's right. Well said. He continues, one should always claim power by taking responsibility. I think, that concept right there is something that a lot of people don't understand completely too. I remember Tuan Tom and I had done a video a couple of years back about the concept of there are no victims, only volunteers. There are no victims, only volunteers. And it was after, I think it was the Pulse nightclub, massacre, whatever you call it, shooting. And a lot of people, they reacted emotionally to what it is that we were saying. But what were we saying? We were saying that the minute we say it wasn't your fault that this happened to you is the minute we take away your power. We're saying that you're like a child. We're saying like you're like a retard that needs to be taken care of. That's what happens when we say you have no role in this outcome. And that's what people don't understand. It's like when you blame yourself, sure, you're going to have to bear the accountability and, in terms of the feedback that you may get by being responsible or taking responsibility. But the other side of that is you never have to say you're not powerful enough to make a better decision next time because you were in fact in control to some extent. Right? So when we don't want to be the person, what was the quote that I put in today's email? I'm the guy that quotes himself and then forgets to quote. What did I put? I'm going to read it. All right. Give yourself permission to make mistakes, and you're less likely to make excuses. And I would say that when you're looking at, your own expectations of who you are, like spoiler alert, you're going to fuck up. You're going to fuck up numerous times in numerous different ways. You're going to fuck up in ways that you don't even realize you're fucking up until somebody else has to tell you you're fucking up, which means you should also, keep an ear open to people that you respect for the feedback they're giving you. But as soon as you own that, then you don't make the excuses. Excuses are basically assigning the control, the power to some other identity. We say blame, right? Oh yeah, I'm blaming him. Like, think of it in terms of I'm giving him the power. I want him to have the power. He's the powerful one here. It's like a car gets into a crash. Everybody looks at the guy driving. Like, well, officer, he was driving. Something goes wrong. The minute you say this is the person who's there, you're saying that he was in control of everybody involved. So we got to understand what that is. What's the consequence of being accountable for the things that you come into contact with and influence? Like, if these things go sideways, like, you're going to get feedback, and your reputation might suffer, might be damaged in certain alliances or relationships. And, but the other side of continue or insisting on owning it, it's like, yeah, you'll pay that price. But the other side of it is you now are engaged in improving the process to have a better outcome next time. Over time, this is how you become half worth of shit. That's how that works. All right. I think we're going to call it there. Today's going to be a short one. I got out what I wanted to. One last quote. Cherrytown Vibe had written, yeah, I've had to identify the bad formulas I used in my relationships that make them suck. And that's what winds up happening. We have formulas that are triggered, activated by certain stressors. And once we're sort of in that rut of something we're familiar with, we're just on autopilot. And there's so much control we might have had at different points of the erosion of a relationship. But because we're running an entire process, soup to nuts, on autopilot, we just, we'll worry about at the end of it, once I'm done with this process, what I have to clean up as a result. Where at any point we could say, wait a minute, let me take a step back and, is there a better way to handle this? What's the outcome that I'm headed toward, treating this situation like this right now? Can I approach it differently? To avoid that outcome that I'm clearly, running toward right now. In the next month or so, I'll be having I'm not officially announcing anything, but I'm having a challenge, and it's going to be built around a man forging a code that he could live by. And I've been working on it for a while. You guys could probably see I got some stuff here out of focus on purpose. But it is to that point, what is it that you stand for? What is it that sort of allows you to guide your actions when you can't think in the moment effectively, but I'll cross that bridge when we get there, and I'll announce that when it's coming. But let's stop there. I appreciate you guys for listening. You guys know that. Those of you men that are here every week, I want to see you in the Three Roads Tribe. Go there and do it. I appreciate the support. A lot of training there. We're doing a lot of talking and exchanging of ideas behind the wall there too. So I hope to see you there. If not, I will see you guys next week regardless. And as always, brothers and sisters, pressure to power.